Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk English, the channel where learning English is easy, slow, and fun. I'm Lily.
That is a very specific way to start.
Right. That is the exact opening line verbatim from the source material we are diving into today.
And on the surface, it sounds like just another friendly, slow-paced language lesson.
Yeah, just a standard morning routine at home, English conversation practice for learners.
Exactly. But if you think we're just here to talk about warm coffee and brushing teeth, you're in for a surprise.
Oh, totally. Because we are peeling back the layers of this script today to really understand the instructional design underneath.
It really is a masterclass in how to hack the brain to acquire new vocabulary.
It is. It's not just a story about a boy named Leo and his morning.
No, it is engineered for what we call contextual vocabulary acquisition.
Contextual vocabulary acquisition. Okay, let's unpack that. Because usually when I think of learning a language, I think of flashcards.
Right, the old rote memorization.
Yeah, like dog equals Pero, table equals Mesa. But this source material takes a totally different approach.
Because flashcards give you data, but context gives you experience.
That makes a lot of sense.
Our mission today is to analyze how this specific lesson uses a very high-frequency scenario.
The morning rush.
Yes, the morning rush, to anchor abstract words like organize or productive into physical actions that you do every single day.
So let's start with the architects of this lesson. The hosts, Tom and Lily.
They set the stage perfectly.
They really do. They introduce themselves, and right off the bat, I noticed a pretty stark contrast in their energy levels.
Up to night and day.
Yeah, Tom is, well, he's intense. He says he's feeling very happy. He describes the sun as very bright.
He mentions he's already had a nice walk.
Right. He is operating at 100%, like a race car.
Which is the exact metaphor he uses in the script.
And then you have Lily. She immediately countersignals that energy.
She admits she is a little sleepy.
Yeah, she's clutching her big warm coffee and explicitly says she needs it to get ready to talk.
Now I know you're wondering, is this just banter to fill time?
I really was. Is there a pedagogical reason to have one host sounding like a race car and the other sounding like she's about to fall back asleep?
It is definitely intentional. In instructional design, you want to validate different learners' states.
So meeting the learner where they are.
Exactly. If every voice on the audio is high-octane and aggressive, it alienates the learner who is listening at 6 in the morning and barely awake.
That is a great point. If I'm sleepy and the host is screaming with joy, I'm turning it off.
Right. By having Tom represent the race car and Lily represent the slow walker, they create a psychological safety net.
It tells you however you are feeling right now, you are ready to learn.
Which lowers the affective filter so the input can actually get in.
The affective filter being that mental block we get when we're stressed or unengaged.
Precisely.
And speaking of that race car mentality, Tom reveals something interesting about his routine. He wakes up at 6 a.m.
But not to rush.
Right. He does it to have tea and listen to quiet music before the world gets loud.
That detail is crucial. It introduces the concept of environmental control.
He isn't just waking up, he is curating his sensory input.
And Lily does the exact same thing, but with chemicals.
Her coffee.
Yes. She says sunny mornings make her feel productive, like she can do many things.
Productive. That is a really great vocab word to slip in there naturally.
It is. So they set the stage with their own routines, but then they pivot to the core simulation.
The story about a character named Leo.
And this is where the real work begins.
Though I want to challenge you a bit on this. The story seems incredibly mundane.
Boring, even.
Yeah. I mean, it's 7 a.m. A mom named Sarah wakes Leo up. He goes to the bathroom. He brushes his teeth. Why focus on such a boring sequence?
Because boring is just another word for universal.
Oh, I see.
To teach English effectively, you need a scaffold that the listener already understands implicitly.
Everyone knows what waking up feels like.
Everyone. But look closely at the language they use. They don't just say he washed his face.
Right, they say he used cold, fresh water.
And that sparks a whole debate between the hosts.
It did. Tom, the morning guy, actually hates cold water. He wants it warm.
But Lily, the sleepy one, says she loves the shock of cold water because it signals time to work.
This is sensory anchoring, right?
You nailed it. If I just tell you the word for water, you might forget it.
But if I make you imagine the shock of freezing cold water hitting your face...
Your brain lights up in the sensory cortex, not just the language center.
So Lily's comment about the shock to the body creates a physical memory bridge for the vocabulary.
Exactly.
Ah.
The disagreement isn't just filler, it's forcing the listener to pick a side.
Are you team cold water or team warm water?
Right, because engagement drives retention.
That is brilliant. And they do the same thing with smell immediately after.
Moving to the kitchen.
Yeah, David is making eggs and toast. And the script makes a point to highlight that the kitchen smells like delicious coffee
Lily calls it her favorite smell in the world.
because it makes a house feel like a home.
Again, they are binding the word kitchen to the scent of coffee.
But notice what happens next. They start describing the furniture.
This part really intrigued me from a linguistic perspective.
The wooden table discussion.
Yes. Tom makes a huge deal about the table being wooden.
He goes off script, or seemingly off script, to describe his own table.
He says it's wooden and old, and from his grandmother. He says it feels warm.
And Lily immediately contrasts it. She says her table is white plastic and metal. Just simple.
Why do you think the material matters so much there?
Well, adjectives are hard to learn in isolation. Wooden versus plastic is a texture contrast.
Old versus modern is a temporal contrast.
So by having the hosts compare their personal furniture, they are teaching the learner how to qualify objects.
You aren't just sitting at a table, you are sitting at a wooden table.
It adds granularity to the language.
And it seems to impact the social dynamic in the story, too.
Yeah, Tom points out that Leo's family is eating and talking happily at this wooden table.
But Tom admits his own family eats in silence because they are too sleepy.
Which is a very honest admission.
It is. But Lily jumps in with the why. She advises that talking is important to build connection.
Like sharing plans, discussing tests, meeting friends.
She is reframing the morning vocabulary, not just as functional words, but as relational tools.
The breakfast table isn't just a furniture item, it's a command center.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's move to the getting dressed segment.
Because here is where I felt the story shifted from idealized morning to real life.
Leo sitting on the floor of the living room to put on his shoes.
Classic move.
Tom relates to it completely. He says he does it too.
But Lily calls him a bit lazy. She says she always uses a chair because if she sits on the floor, she might fall asleep.
Which is a highly valid survival strategy.
Very true. But then they talk about the shoes themselves. Leo's are black school shoes.
Very standard.
But Tom goes into this nostalgic tangent about his childhood shoes. He had blue sneakers.
And he says they made him feel like a superhero who could run fast.
And Lily calls him a fast Tom. Is that just a cute anecdote, or is there something else going on pedagogically?
It's emotional association. He's connecting the noun sneakers to the feeling of speed and confidence.
So in language learning, we remember words that have an emotional charge.
Right. Black shoes are neutral. Blue superhero sneakers stick in the memory because they carry narrative weight.
Narrative weight. I really like that phrase.
So Leo is dressed. He has his shoes on.
Now we get to the part that creates the most anxiety for me personally, the organization phase.
The defense against chaos.
Sarah checks the blue backpack for books and pencils. David packs a red apple in a plastic box.
The script is teaching the vocabulary of preparation here. Check, pack box. These are verbs and nouns of control.
And Lily shares a cautionary tale here. She mentions a time she was disorganized.
She didn't close her bag.
Right, and her apple rolled out under the car.
Which implies she went hungry that day.
Exactly, no snack. It's a small tragedy, but it reinforces the lesson. Organization prevents disaster.
And did you notice the color coding?
The colors. Blue backpack, red apple, yellow sofa later on.
Yes. They are peppering in basic color vocabulary within the complex narrative flow.
I think you called that interleaving earlier.
Yes,
Yeah.
interleaving. Mixing basic concepts with more advanced concepts so the brain is constantly shifting gears.
Speaking of shifting gears and disaster, we reach the climax of the story. The family is ready to leave.
They have the apple, they have the backpack.
And then the universal problem.
Where are the keys?
Tom calls this the most common sentence in the world.
He's probably right.
And honestly, it feels like a bit of a trope, doesn't it? Every story about a morning routine has to have the lost keys moment.
It is a trope, but that is exactly why it works so well.
Why is that?
It triggers a phenomenon called inattentional blindness.
Oh, where you can't see what's right in front of you?
Exactly. Tom actually personified the keys. He says they like to play hide and seek when people are stressed.
Which is exactly what it feels like.
But look at the language opportunity here. They use this panic to teach prepositions of place.
They look near the yellow sofa. They look on the small shelf.
They're using the tension of the moment to drill spatial vocabulary.
Because you learn the word shelf much faster when you are frantically scanning it for something you desperately need.
The emotion drives the definition.
That is a great point. And of course, where were the keys?
On the wooden table.
Right in plain sight. They were there the whole time.
It resolves the tension immediately.
They find the keys, the stress evaporates, and they transition to the departure phase.
They put on warm jackets.
Lily's is red for visibility. Tom's is black, making him look like a big bear.
And they walk out into the bright sun.
That walk to the car signifies the successful completion of the routine.
The lesson has taken the listener from the groggy state of waking up through the sensory shocks.
The cold water?
The organization checks the stress of the lost item, and finally the release of leaving the house.
It's a complete narrative arc.
So we've walked through the story.
Mm-hmm.
But here is where the source material gets highly technical.
Because after the story ends, they don't just say goodbye. They do a review and interactive recap.
And they do something specific with the vocabulary. They don't just list it randomly.
Right. They engage in categorization.
They list the words in clusters.
Rooms like bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, objects like table, sofa, keys, and colors.
Why do you think they categorize them instead of just listing them in the order they appeared in the story?
Because of chunking, right. The human brain struggles to remember long, linear lists of unrelated items.
Exactly. By grouping them into categories, you allow the brain to store them as packets of information.
It is much easier to recall 3 rooms than to recall bedroom, then apple, then blue, then bathroom.
It's like organizing a file cabinet instead of throwing papers on the floor.
And Tom really emphasizes repetition here. He explicitly says repetition is the key to learning.
He suggests listening to the story one more time.
He is pushing for active recall.
And Lily adds a crucial instruction. Visualize the pictures in your head.
She isn't just asking you to listen to the sounds. She wants you to rebuild the mental simulation.
That is dual coding. Audio plus internal imagery.
And that is what cements the language in long-term memory.
Now, before we wrap up, there was one final piece of advice Tom and Lily gave in the outro that I thought was fascinating.
Oh, the practice at home advice.
Yes. Lily encourages listeners to practice at home by narrating their actions.
She gives the example, I am looking for my keys.
Yes.
Is that actually effective? Walking around your house talking to yourself. I feel like my roommates would think I've completely lost it.
They might give you a strange look, but neurologically, it is gold.
Really?
It is a technique called self-talk.
How does that work?
When you speak to another person, there is performance anxiety. You are worried about grammar, pronunciation, saving face.
The affective filter goes back up.
Exactly. When you engage in self-talk, you lower the stakes to 0.
Because no one is judging you.
Right. You are bridging the gap between thinking the word and producing the sound.
You are literally training your mouth muscles to form the shapes of English words in a safe environment.
It turns your bathroom into a language lab.
So saying, I am brushing my teeth while actually brushing your teeth connects the motor action to the speech action.
It creates a multisensory feedback loop.
That is actually really actionable advice.
And Tom finishes up by asking the audience a question. What is in your backpack today?
A grounding question. It forces the listener to mentally inventory their own preparedness.
Using the new vocabulary.
And Lily asks, where do you usually find your lost keys?
Which I think is just asking for a comment section full of people saying in my hand.
Or still in the door.
Or in the fridge if it's been a really bad morning.
Very true. So looking at this whole package, the energy contrast between the hosts, the sensory details of cold water and coffee, the stress of the lost keys, and the categorization drill, it's clear this isn't just a simple conversation.
It's a highly structured learning tool designed for English conversation practice.
It really demonstrates that the best way to learn a language isn't to memorize a dictionary.
It's to simulate life. You learn morning by living through the morning.
Even if it's just a story about a boy named Leo.
Well, I think that is a perfect place to leave it.
We have unpacked the routine, found the keys, and hopefully given you a new perspective on how these lessons work.
The instructional design is everywhere if you know where to look.
I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to chew on.
Go for it.
In the story, finding the keys was the unlock moment that allowed the family to leave the house.
The resolution.
Right. So in your own learning journey, what is your key?
That is the question.
What is the one small habit like narrating your teeth brushing or organizing your vocab lists that unlocks the next level for you?
Think about that as you go about your day.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the morning routine. We will catch you in the next one.
Goodbye, everyone.
See ya.